And we are live again. Hello and welcome to the Enlightenment Exchange. If you are new to us, we really appreciate you coming here. And if you haven't yet, please reach down or up or whatever and hit that subscribe button. Yeah, the red one, I think, and the little notification bell. And if you've been with us before and you are a regular watcher or listener, thank you so very much. Cove and Tina, I know you're probably, if you're not listening yet, you will be soon. Thank you very much for that beautiful shout out that you gave me the other day. I really appreciated that. And now, without further ado, we are so excited to welcome John Mothershead to the party today.
Hello, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Welcome, John.
It is so exciting. So before we start, this is John. Angel parties are amazing. They are on a Saturday. Which is it? It's a particular Saturday of the month, right? Or do you try for that?
It's whenever my co-host is available that month, but it's typically a Saturday at 5 p.m. Pacific. And we do intuitive art readings, and we always have a theme that we celebrate, and it's a ton of fun.
It is a ton of fun. I actually was fortunate enough to host once with John, and I've attended quite a few. And I have a very nice little stack of intuitive art paintings growing, and I'm gonna do like Cove and Tina. I saw she's got hers all on display behind her. I will get to that one of these days. Anyway, really thrilled. John, you have a great connection to the angels and a really great understanding. So that's you. And John is the other John is the tarot geek. And he helps me with the framework of tarot. And then I'm just all the other, craziness in between. So, oh, look, yeah, we've got quite a few people that we know in the audience. We've got Deborah Husky, who's been a guest, and Janet is here. So that's wonderful. So today we want to talk about like stepping outside your comfort zone, being vulnerable, embracing your fears or facing your fears. And I find it a really powerful topic to talk about because John, we talk always a little bit before we start. And I said how often I hear, and it's not just from, either of the two of you or myself, but even bigger names who have either a fear of going live or a fear of, putting their information, putting their work out there because they are afraid of what people are going to think, or, you know what I mean? Like, it's just amazing to me how common this is, this comfort zone, this vulnerability thing, and all of that, how common it is. And amongst people that you would be very surprised that had it. So
I got a story about my book. So whenever that's appropriate, I'd like to tell that because it fits right in. So John, you might know, I worked on a book for a number of months, probably over a year. And there was something holding me back from publishing it. And I just didn't quite know what it was. And I was talking with a really good friend of mine in the tarot community. And I was kind of saying, I'm trying to get it out there. I just don't know why. I don't know what's holding me back. And she said, I bet it's your reluctance to really put yourself all the way out there. And I said, yeah, you are. You're right. That it is that. And she says, let me tell you a secret about the tarot community. She says, about half of the authors that I know are using a pseudonym. I said, really? And she says, there is no shame in using a pseudonym on your book if that's going to get you over that fear of getting out there. And she said, here, let me give you a couple names. And she said, this one and this one and this one, people that I know well and I follow online and I've purchased their books, all pseudonyms. And I'm like, that's it. I'm in. So I redid my cover and the cover page with a pen name and launched the book. So for me, it was the fact that I have, kind of the day job and then the spirit light worker work. So it helped me to be able to do that.
The muggle job and the woo job, right?
I think there's no shame in a pseudonym. I think that For me, I try to teach like small steps forward and paths forward, and if that's where someone's comfort zone is, and that's the furthest they can step to at the moment, or that circumstances will allow them to rise to at the moment, then I think that's great. I think we should always be like testing that comfort zone and trying to step a little bit out of it so that we're continuing our growth.
That's great. I love that.
I'm actually regretting right now. I say that facetiously. I try to live life without regrets, but this is my real government name. And I have my muggle work as well. And I am getting into politics, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm very exposed. I'm going to be the angel guy. And I'm going to be like destroyed in local politics for all of my angel work. But
look at shoot, what's her name? Who ran for president?
Kamala?
No. Hang on, I'll remember it. Geez, famous author.
Oh, Marianne Williams.
Thank you. God, why did her name slip my mind?
Why do you keep bringing her up?
Because I like her. I really do.
I don't.
I know, but here we are. We're talking about her. But she put herself out there, and she did kind of get a little ridicule from both sides, but she stuck with it.
Well, I tend to think of judgment as a form of flattery. I think often people who judge you are insecure themselves, and their judgment is their kind of them exposing their own insecurities or maybe regrets. So yeah, I am out loud and proud as an angel worker.
You know what? We actually need more of you in politics.
2 years ago, that was something that was terrifying to me. I remember I was in a spiritual group in Palm Springs with Radley Valentine, and I was wearing my face mask, and he called me out for hiding. And at the time, it was like a dagger in my heart. But when I really went home and I reflected, I was like, yes, I truly am hiding, and let's investigate that.
Nice.
I think that's really like interesting. I am not. I walk around with the last name ZXUH, right? Like that is my real name. It is on my driver's license. It's on my marriage certificate. I didn't make it up. Well, my husband made it up, but I guess I know, because I am firmly ensconced in a. I find it funny actually. I'm firmly ensconced in a job where we do income tax resolution. And then I do this, and I do keep it pretty separate. Like when it comes to my social media, I am not friends with those clients or anything like that, mostly because, well, I just don't want to give tax advice for free. Well, I don't want to get, so although there's a couple of them, but to me, it's one of those things like, you just never know. John, I'm thinking about you, John Mothershead. I'm thinking about you. Like, I wonder, is that just divine timing that you picked up the angel work before the politics to kind of force you to put yourself out there? Do you know what I mean? Like I always wonder about what is the universe up to when it's doing things, like, because there's no going back for you.
We've got to use that as a title.
So for me, like if we're bringing this back to the vulnerability and to the topic of fear and facing your fears, to me, I've always used fear as a compass, but instead of running away from it, I know the greater the fear, the more important it is that I participate. So good. That fear of jumping into local politics, or that fear of coming out as an angel worker, or the fear of coming out as a gay man, like the more weight I feel when I'm keeping it within, the more important I know it is for me to share. Nice. So that's how I can tell. Like and the universe will not let you out of it. You're going to keep getting reminded that this is important for you. And those synchronistic reminders are going to get bigger and bigger and bigger until shit is literally hitting the fan and you're forced to do it. Right. So that's where I think the universe is involved. Is the universe is going to, through the emotional barometer, it's going to let you know how important it is. And then you're either going to step into it boldly, or you're going to try to hide from it until it smacks you in the face and it forces you into it.
Well, I mean, that's so
that.
true, right? Like it's until it smacks you in the face. And we've all been smacked in the face. I think anybody that's listening, and John and both of you know, I know you have, and I have. And it, the truth of the matter is, when it comes to just the two words, the name of the episode, stepping outside your comfort zone, that's where growth lives.
Right. It's on the
That's
edges.
where, I mean, it's as simple as that. I really think now I want to explore, not in conversation, but really explore for myself in the idea of helping people in this way. Something you brought up, it's almost like, where is the fear, and run towards it, right? Run toward it, run toward the fear.
Face it head on.
Face it head on.
So oh no, go.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I was the most shy child. I hated leaving the house. I would hide behind my mom when we were at the grocery store. And the light bulb moment was when I was a junior in high school. I was watching Oprah, and she said precisely what you just said. Run toward the fear. Run toward the fear. And at the moment, I was like, okay, my greatest fear in life was public speaking. So I was like, what's going to force me to public speak? And at the moment, it was running for student body president. Because I said, okay, if I submit my application for student body president, I'm going to be forced to make a speech in front of the whole school. And it would mean recovering from like stage fright that I've had for years. So thinking back to just taking those baby steps, or one step at a time, I was like, okay, if I think about making the speech in front of the whole school, then I'm going to be paralyzed with fear. But if I just think about filling out the application, I can fill out the application. And then, okay, now I'm going to just have to submit the application. And I just worked up the courage to drop off the application. And then it was, okay, I guess I need to create some posters, or you just take the one step at a
What's
time.
The next best step?
And try not to think too far ahead or about the whole. Eventually I was like sitting there, and my name was called, and I had to standing there exposed in front of the whole student body, but I had no choice. And because that was successful, I was elected. And the whole next year was Revenge of the Nerds, where theater and music kids kind of took over the school, which was a lot of fun. I realized that, I can apply this to everything in my life. I can just run toward the fear, one little step at a time, just like dipping my toe out of the comfort zone. And if I can do it, I promise anyone can do it and succeed.
It reminds me of getting in the pool when the water's cold, right? You step on the first step.
I don't do that.
I do. First step, second step, third step, and then down all the way into the water, because it's just, but for me, that's a much more comfortable way to do it, right? I think there are some people that need to jump right in, and some people that need to do it step by step. I think I've known people who, if they didn't jump right in, they'd never do anything at all. And sometimes that works out, and sometimes it doesn't. So if you really, depending on what the desired result is, that can work, but I think it can also not work.
I agree.
Right?
I think there's no universal truth for everyone. We're all so unique. We have such different personalities. I'm a Cancer, so for me, going live or speaking in public, it's like letting my guard down and being vulnerable, and it's exposing myself, when inherently I just want to be wrapped up in my blanket at home by myself, probably. But so for me, the little baby steps work, and I know that they work for many of my clients. But absolutely. Yeah, you're totally right. That's why we have teachers like that teach you to cannonball out of your comfort zone.
And isn't that like wonderful? Because so many of us are teachers, but if everybody only learned one way, then there very well could be too many of us. But what resonates with the people that work with, I don't know if you can imagine, but I am a truth teller. Like I don't, I'm a bull in a china shop. I admit it. And if I don't understand why you're doing what you're doing, I'm going to say that. And then either you're going to explain it and I'm going to buy it, or you're going to explain it and I'm going to say, well, can you see that you're hiding, or whatever it is. Lisa really explained it. It's Libra and then Aquarius and Aries all together in this wonderful cocktail that makes me who I am. And but some people need that. And then other people need you to be really gentle. See, I can't don't pussyfoot around me. I can't deal with it. Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, just get on with it. Tell me already, So I just love that we're all different, but we can all be friends and we can all work together and we can collaborate. And I really think that, and I'm interested in this because, John, you for a long time were doing your angel parties pretty much on your own. And then you decided that this year was going to be a year of collaboration. How has that shifted or changed anything? Or, how did it work out, I guess, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah.
Now that I've asked and we're live.
So the creation of the angel parties was one more way for me to kind of expose myself or step out of my comfort zone, because I had previously just been doing email readings, and even my social media didn't really expose my voice or my face. Like everything was me hiding. So having a monthly forum with some of my most trusted clients was a way of me kind of like stepping out and being vulnerable and showing others that if I can do it, they can do it. And I think collaborating has been an expansion of that, because it's not just my safe little audience that I'm very comfortable with. It's then exposing myself to new customers and broadening my horizon a little bit. And it's very easy for me to control my environment when I'm the only one there. But when I'm co-hosting or have someone else who works very different than me, it forces me out of the comfort zone, and it forces me to be patient and to take turns, and it forces me to let go of control, which is
and sometimes you just need to use the mute button.
Well, yeah, I usually use it for myself, not for
we've had a couple talkers on the show that we needed to go. Angie's like texting me, John, you got to get a word in there to kind of like move this thing along.
It can happen. It can happen.
I have
or we need to remind people like Lisa that they need to speak English and not whatever that
astrologies.
Yeah, astrologies. Because sometimes my eyes glaze over because I have no idea what she's talking about. I mean, that is another thing about me, and maybe a risk of going live is that my face does speak for me. My face does speak for me. So sometimes if if we're in a thing together and you see my camera mute, like could very well be that I just can't
right behind the scenes there's an eye roll going on.
Oh my gosh. Well, okay, so that's vulnerability and fears. But really let's look at like the idea of the comfort zone. Because my comfort zone is different now than it was, say, 5 years ago. John, I think both of you, can say the same. But what are some of those small steps that you can take to push that comfort zone and make it a little bit bigger?
Well, I think it's important for us never to get too stagnant or too comfortable. So I'm thinking of my tarot deck. So I had no idea how to publish a tarot deck, but I decided, you know what? Step number 1 is to create the art. And then once I have the art and the material, then I'll figure out how to get it onto a card. So I think, like, for me, I stepped a little out of my comfort zone that whole process until the deck was done. And then now I have a deck, and I'm like,
and it's a beautiful deck, by the
thank
way.
you, thank you. That now what? Now what, right? My comfort zone is just to, like, maintain the status quo and to just have it there. But I'm like, no, I guess the next logical step is to start promoting it, right? Well, the promotion is out of my comfort zone, but I have a deck, I need to sell it. So that, to me, it's just looking, it's looking for the next logical step, and maybe marrying the like logical next step with the emotional comfort and seeing where to take things.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. There is one of the things I studied, soul realignment, concept of a person being either an outcome person or a process person. Meaning, if an outcome person focuses on the outcome, the logical steps will present themselves. Or if you're a process person and you take steps that are in alignment, which is what I think you're saying, take steps that are in alignment with what you want, then the outcome is assured. So, I mean, because, and I don't know, but I know I have one my own self. I think you did pretty well when you sold that deck. Am I right?
Oh, well, yeah, it's going great.
Yeah. So you really took the time to figure out that connection you had with each step that you took and made sure that they were in alignment with your ultimate goal for that deck. And then the outcome is really, I mean, that's really manifesting at its best, isn't it?
But we're never done.
No, of course
like
not.
As Abraham Hicks would say, that you're never getting it right and you're never getting it done. Like, you're always in that process of growing. So that's, to me, that it's finding that balance of, like, once you're comfortable in the waters, how do you now expand a little bit greater so you're just a little bit uncomfortable again? And then, like you said earlier, that you went live to get over your fear of going live.
Yeah.
And after you did it 7 times, it was like,
That's
okay,
it. I'm good.
Yep.
Yeah.
And now you have a podcast, right? Oh, sorry, John. I don't want to overrun the show.
No, it's okay. You're the guest, so you get to do that. But real quick on just that idea, I found that the first time I do something, it feels horrible and I screw it up, or I feel like I'm screwing it up. But the second or third or fourth time I do something, it's like, okay, all right, this is now what I do. This is now comfortable. And then, like you said, the next thing is like, okay, what's just a little bit beyond that?
Yeah, when I was in magic camp as a middle schooler, you learn to juggle, and you start with 1 ball. And then once you get comfortable with 1 ball, you add the second ball. And once you're comfortable there, you add the third, and so on.
Cool.
And
I'm going to try that.
To me, that's a good kind of parallel to life, where when we're comfortable, we're being invited to then add another ball.
I think that's perfect. And I think that also, I mean, it's a good analogy if you think about it, because you can only add so many more, right? Before it gets to be too many. And so and I guess the reason I'm saying this is because, when things happen in your life, and I've had things, and a lot of people know about my husband. We have loyal listeners. So, that was really what threw me back into my comfort zone in a tight way. That's where I needed to be to take care of everything that I needed to take care of. And so now I think it pushed me so far back into that comfort zone that I'm struggling to pull myself back out of it. Struggling to put myself back out there, struggling to, set up to set up events and to do things that really put me, because, well, what if I lost it? What if I, do you know what I mean? Like it's
well, John can relate most probably to those tower card moments.
Yes, I was just going to say
those tower card moments where we drop all the balls and then we're not expected to then immediately start juggling all 10 balls again, right? We have to ease our way back into it. But those transformative moments invite us to kind of sit back and kind of reflect. And maybe you don't want to pick all the balls back up anymore. Maybe there are balls that behind
that's good.
you never go back to.
Yep.
I love that. So a lot of my meditations are done with visualizations of representations of things. And I lead people through these kind of things. So I love the idea of sitting with just looking, checking out to see where are they, where did they fall, and which ones do I want to pick back up, and sort of reconnecting with the energy of that. I really like that idea very much. So I'm going to try that too. And who knows, maybe y'all will see something new for me. So we've got.
Can I read the one from Coventina? That's really good.
You read it, because which one?
So she says, I discovered my superpower is vulnerability. When I'm in my ego self, I fear being vulnerable. When I'm in my soul self, it doesn't occur to me that I'm being vulnerable. I like that. That's good. That's really good.
I think most of our superpowers are when we're vulnerable, because when we're most vulnerable, we're being most authentic.
Yep.
Well, and the other thing is too, that those of us, and I think most of the listeners are spiritual teachers in one form or another. We teach from that vulnerability, right? Because that's our goal, is to help others.
You can't teach from the ego side.
You can't teach from the ego side, because in the ego side is arrogance, and nobody learns from that.
Right.
Nobody learns from that. So I've experienced that from time to time over the years, and not just in the spiritual world, but in the income tax world as well.
Same with the tech world. There's
the
lot
teachers,
of big heads over there.
Yeah. So I think that there are so many good ways to practice kind of being vulnerable and putting yourself out there. And I think Dougal Fraser is pretty good at he shows his vulnerability a lot in his blogs. His blogs will tell a story about how this happened and he freaked out and had a temper tantrum about it. But when he stood back and, connected with the energy of what was going on, everything really was okay. And I think that I am very, very guilty of catastrophizing. I'm really good at catastrophizing,
look how bad this could go.
Right. Or, I am literally the kind of person that if I don't hear from you for a while, the reason I don't reach out is because I think you're mad at me. I have no idea why.
You've written the story in your head. Yeah.
But it's all like this narrative that goes on in my head. So, we all have these little quirks and foibles, and it's.
So I got a question I want to throw in here. What about being too vulnerable? How do you protect yourself from overexposing, or oops, I went a little bit too far on that one? What do you think, John?
For me, it's trial and error. When when I'm in that sweet spot of vulnerability where I stepped out of my comfort zone, I survived or thrived, and then I step away and reflect, I'm feeling high. I'm feeling great. Yeah. My vibes are wonderful.
Yep.
When I've overexposed myself or overcommitted and I haven't really respected my boundaries, that's when I feel bruised or beaten down. And
that goes back to the whole idea from Abraham Hicks, is using your emotions as kind of the barometer. That's a really good example of that.
Yeah.
So John, I'm curious what your idea of overexposing your vulnerability, what does that mean in your mind? Because I think I heard John Mothershead say, overextending, agreeing to too much, and that kind of thing. So
Yeah,
what do you
I guess that could be
thinking?
that's one way it could happen. Another way it could happen is, for example, in one business entity, I had my phone number out there, my my address was out there, and I had people abusing the phone number. They would call me all kinds of, day or night, and expect a reply. And I felt I kind of overshared my availability here. Or maybe another example would be, I say on a particular call where I'm talking to people, I might expose too much of my personal life or a story that should have been kept, anonymized, and I've overshared. So those two things, you kind of feel, oops, right? We'll stop that right there. But you're right, John. You get that feeling that yeah, it's obvious at that point.
Yeah, and once someone teaches you that you've kind of maybe disrespected your boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
it's some would argue that they have a fear of setting boundaries, right? Like boundary setting is a form of confidence and vulnerability in itself, and establishing these ground rules that
Yeah,
we play by. So I
Yep.
totally think I celebrate people who set firm boundaries and then respect them.
All right. Well, that's something I have learned the hard way a number of times.
Same.
Well, and energetic boundaries only work when you honor them. For example, when I was younger, I had a rule that if a job made me cry, I quit. That was my rule. If a job makes me cry, I quit. It takes a lot. I'm not, I'm not touchy. Like but if a job makes me cry, I quit. And I was waitressing in this restaurant, and one of the owners, one of the brothers, was just a real word I'm not going to use on the air. And he said something to me. He called me a name, and I started to cry, and I went like this. I said, "Here you go." He said, "What's this?" I said, "It's my checks." He said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "It's my checks. You're going to need somebody to take care of my tables." He said, "Why?" I said, "Because I quit." And I walked out. Do you know, nobody ever did it again. But if I would have stayed, then I would have been inviting that kind of energy. And I had no idea at the time that that's what I was doing, was creating energetic boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
But, there was another one. If a boss calls me stupid in front of customers and other whatever, and other employees, I'm out, gone. And I worked at a place where the guy did it to half the people in there, but he never did it to me, because I would have picked up my purse and went straight back across the street and went home.
What I think is so interesting, Angie, because we're talking about boundaries, is that most people would stay in that abusive environment, whether it's a relationship or a job, because they're afraid of the consequences of leaving. But by honoring your boundaries, you are actually making the braver choice of and doing what most people would feel uncomfortable doing.
Mm-hmm. And inviting new opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, and that's the whole interesting thing, right? It kept it from happening in other places.
Because you honored them. That's
right.
Good. That's good.
So it's I mean, I teach this to people that I work with that are mediums, that say, "Oh, well, these people from the other side are, waking me up at 2:30 in the morning." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? Tell them to stop it. You have office hours. If you want to work from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., you tell them that's when you come to me. Otherwise, no." And they can't believe when they do it that it works. It is, but that's all it is. You have to believe it. So, interesting that more recently, as energies are shifting, that there have been some relationships where trust has been breached that she didn't expect. That's Deborah Rahelski
Yep.
saying that. I think that a lot, we're all getting these lessons, and there's a lot of energy shifting in the world right now.
Yeah.
You know.
And to me, there have been some shifts in my life where I've been experiencing grief, and it's hard when you're in a moment of grief to then go and make a TikTok video or go do a podcast, and you're grieving inside, and inside you're like maybe just holding in the tears and barely holding it together, but you're having to go out and expose yourself to the world. And so I think that in those moments where I need to refer back to where we feel like our trust has been breached, and where we're feeling like those relationships are kind of like unraveling. I think leaning into the vulnerability of it and honoring the grief and the process of it is so important, because if it's a relationship that's unraveling, then we can't hold on to the person that was, right? There, and if we're no longer resonating with the person that is, then the most natural and uncomfortable thing to happen is to let it go. But again, that's something that people are so afraid of doing. They're afraid to evolve out of a relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship or a personal relationship, because of what? The consequences or judgment, or who knows what they're afraid of, but there's this looming fear to evolve.
The fear of the unknown is worse than the pain of what currently is.
Always. The rehearsed tragedy in my mind is always worse than the reality of just showing up and facing whatever the fear was.
That's true.
And isn't that, I mean, to me, that is one of those circumstances that we've all had numerous times in our lives, and yet we still follow that same pattern, right? You still rehearse the tragedy, and you still stay within that rehearsed tragedy, even when you find out that not only is it not anywhere near as bad as you thought it was, it is better than you could possibly have even imagined.
Yeah, but that makes us human, which is beautiful. And
Exactly.
It makes us better teachers. In my opinion, a teacher shouldn't be perfect or be flawless, right? So my mistakes and my vulnerabilities make me a better teacher, because I'm more relatable to my students, and I'm on the same level with them. I'm not on some pedestal. I am just as vulnerable or just as scared as they are.
That's interesting.
There's a great Mark Twain quote, and he says, "I've experienced a great deal of pain and suffering in my life, most of which has never actually happened."
Well, I mean, it's true, right? And I think one of the first people I heard that was sort of a big name that spoke about the pedestal was Radley Valentine, and how, don't put me on a pedestal. I don't belong on a pedestal. I don't want to be on a pedestal. I want to be down here where you are. And the truth of the matter is, this is going back some years, but I had some people kind of put me on a pedestal for the express purpose of knocking me off. Really taught me some big lessons. And that was in this world. That was not in the tax world. So if you are not on a pedestal, you're standing on solid ground, and if you trip or you fall, it's not that far, and it's not that hard to get yourself back up. You let yourself get up on that pedestal, and if things start to unravel and fall apart, you're going to have a really hard fall, and hit hard. So I think that if we could all just take a few minutes and realize that we all have so much more alike than not, oh, it would be so much easier.
I got one more question for John. I think in the last, say, 5 to 10 years, the amount of people kind of in the light worker space has grown significantly. And as more and more of us are in that space, of course, more and more of us are exposing our true selves, or our vulnerability. Do you see that trend continuing? Do you see that kind of groundswell of light worker authenticity continuing to move like it has?
I hope it does, because I've never thought the space was too crowded. I always have been welcoming of people's various perspectives and voices, and I think there's space for all of us. And I think the world needs,
yes,
and that's part of my calling. So many of my clients are professionals themselves, and I believe that, like, Angie is going to speak and motivate a different client than you are, and you're going to motivate a different client than I am, and we will attract our own unique clients, and there's enough space for all of us to thrive and survive. And the people that are not going to succeed, or the people that are going to fall, Angie, in my opinion, are the people that are either hiding behind the work, so they're not really being truly vulnerable. They're just they're maybe like captivated by the fame or the
right
fortune. Their motives are maybe not in alignment with the true light work. Those are the people that I think are going to struggle. But I think the people that are truly authentic and truly in it for the right reasons have every opportunity to thrive and in this space. And I hope they do.
I do too.
Yeah.
And I also, there are just a couple of other things. First of all, I 100% agree. There is enough for all of us. There's always been enough for all of us. There always has. But I love the idea also that people who resonate with my message, and John, the same thing. But when 2 of us or 3 of us come together and start speaking, now all of a sudden we're speaking to another layer of people. So not just each one that is listening to each of us as individuals, but there's another group of people or another layer of people that listen to our voices together and get a little something from each in a way that's just different. So
that's the collaboration card.
Exactly. And if favorite. I could say anything to anybody that's listening, and to, John, you and I have done, both of you, Johns, I've done events with. And it's always amazing and wonderful and more fun. And I just enjoy it more myself. When there's someone else in the room, and I get an idea, you get an idea, all of a sudden now, the sparks are bouncing off of each other, and it's just an entirely different experience. And I think if in fact what this world needs in this moment is to have the lights turned back on, that's how we do it.
Yep. As collaborating, not as individuals. I love that idea a lot. That really resonates with me.
What I love is that so frequently, John, you can pull a tarot card, Angie will get a channeled message, and I can be interpreting a painting, and we're going to be saying the same thing. We're going to be delivering the same message, but in 3 different unique ways. And that's what I love about collaborating. Is so often you can't really make up how we're all achieve the same.
We say that exact phrase. You just can't make the stuff up.
Exactly.
Yep. I love that.
And it's proven when John, you and I do the card episodes where we, one time we did one where we were both reading from the same decks, and it was just crazy how they were
so aligned,
and playing off each other. I mean, so it is intuition is how you connect to, receive, and interpret energy. We all interpret it a little bit different, but it's all the same energy, right? And the message then translates to people in ways they can hear it, feel it, and understand it. And oh, that was good. I like that.
Yeah. You got a download there, Angie.
Yeah. So I hope, because when I first got into this sort of spiritual world, it was a lot of, oh, you don't know what you're doing and you're not fully healed. You need to be 100% healed, and you need to be this and you need to be that. And oh no, you can't come into my store and talk to somebody and, maybe get yourself a client, have a conversation, right. Just the competition was just almost enough to say, I don't like that. I don't like this. When I had my Liberty tax office, Liberty corporate marketing wanted us to go and plaster coupons in the parking lot at H&R Block. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I can't do that. I just can't do that. Like, that's just not how I roll, And they're like, well, and I'm like, I just can't do that. I believe if we collaborate and work together and not form partnerships, which we all know Angie will never do an actual partnership again, but just these collaborations and these little spots where we connect and,
connect and share. Yep.
That's why a show like this is so great, because we collaborate with different people, at least once a month. We have different people on and get different perspectives and different thoughts. Amazing.
Yep.
Oh totally. My gosh, I can't believe it. We're almost at the 50-minute mark already.
Time flies when you're having fun.
It sure does.
Let's give John an opportunity to kind of wrap it up in a couple sentences. I'd like to hear more from you, John.
Wouldn't we all? Yes.
Well, if there's one takeaway, I just think that it should be embracing your authentic voice and the calling from within. And so frequently the calling that we feel inside feels scary, and my hope is that people are willing to step out of their comfort zone, express themselves, and answer that call, because the world needs them now more than ever.
Totally, now more than ever.
Yeah.
And walk away from the fear, right? Walk away. Don't play into their hands. Walk away from the fear.
Yeah. But internally face your own fears.
Right. I mean, walk away, like,
walk away.
Move towards your fear to get out of your comfort zone, but don't fall into the fear.
Okay.
That, because that energy of fear, that's what had the villagers going after the Frankenstein monster, right? It creates an imprint. So face it, run toward it, conquer it, move past it, and grow.
And love will always conquer fear. So if you're doing something from a place of love and authenticity, then it's always going to conquer that fear. And I have yet to see an example of that turning out poorly when it's coming from a place of love.
I don't remember who it was, but I remember somebody always said that love was the polarity of fear, right? So fill your heart with love. Thank you so much, Janet. I hope she was talking to us.
Yep.
The love is the polarity of fear. So fill your heart with love, and then the fear just kind of dissipates, right? That's the whole thing. That was the point of the joy last week.
Right.
And the energy session. Thank you again so much. All of you loyal, wonderful listeners. We really appreciate you. John, you are going to have to come back.
Okay, this was a lot of fun. I will confess that I have a fear of going live.
Made you do it.
I'm much more comfortable being rehearsed, but you guys made it very easy, and I'm so blessed to have been invited. So thank you so much.
Thanks for
yes,
coming. It's been really, this is a great episode.
Yes, totally great. And we will love to have you come back. We'll come up with maybe you'll come back and talk about angels.
Sure.
I would like that very much. If you're listening and you've gotten all the way to the end, please, if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. And also go to johnmothershead.com and sign up and attend one of his angel parties. They're great fun. And you might just see me there. I make it as often as I can. Because it is just fun. Like, it's just fun. And you never know what you're going to hear that means something to you. You know, that's another thing that's so amazing about all this, is that even when you're sitting in a group situation, and even if you're not the focus of the reading, there's always something for you, right? There's always something for you in a reading for another person. They're just, you know, the collective energy of the room. So once again, John, thank you so very much. All of you listeners, thank you so much. We loved having you listen to us. And if you made it all the way to the end and you subscribe, we're getting up there. I think the last I saw was 113. So we surpassed our
momentum.
Yes, momentum. So anyway, thank you so much. And next week we will see you. We're going to do the year-end reading, and then we'll let you know then what the rest of the year looks like, because the next 2 Wednesdays after that are Christmas and New Year's. So we'll let you know what where we're going to go from there. Okay, thanks everybody. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Or afternoon or whatever it might be.